is Tony Blair, and welcome to Face with the Gen Z. And today we'll be discussing a very interesting topic. We'll be looking at what really unites us as Kenyans. There are few moments in this country where we have got tragedies and times when we would expect, for example, us to come together, regardless of the political divide that we belong to, and to stay as a nation and to stay committed. So we are asking ourselves today, what really unites us as a country? Is it politics? Is it religion? Is it sports? Or what is it? And to help us unpack this today is Gen Zs in the house. We have got 9 Gen Zs here from different parts of the country. And a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, because what wamefika. Yes. Thank you so much for dedicating your time to be here today. And also we have got a very, very enriching panel that will be helping us to unpack this. And right about now, I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves right from my immediate right. Advice Mundalo, karibu.
Asante sana. I'm not used to being the first one. I think I started the wrong place today. Yeah. But thank you very much. My name is Mundalo Advice. I'm a political animal. I'm a communication strategist, and I lead an organization called 2 Cents Leadership Institute, where we basically do leadership training and communication works. And I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Mundalo.
Yeah.
Right next to Mundalo, Miss.
Probably I need to be your student next time.
Yeah, you need to enroll.
I'll pick you up on the next intake.
Yeah, so next to Mundalo, Miss Joan, karibu.
Asante sana. My name is Joan Onyango Bunga. I'm an economist, lawyer. I love talking to Gen Z, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for that. And then finally, the convener.
Odoyo Owidi.
You don't want to add anything to that?
No.
He has forgotten a D.
Karibu.
There's usually a D somewhere.
The
Odoyo Owidi.
Asante.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm coming to the Gen Zs because you are our guest today, and I'm also going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself today. And as you introduce yourself, please tell us something people do not know about you. I'm going to start with you, Biko.
Thank you very much, Tony. My name is Steve Biko Molo. I'm a real estate investment consultant, and I'm a lover of democracy, politics, and nation building. Something people don't know about me is that I'm a champion in karate.
Okay.
Wow. We are safe.
Karate.
We are safe in this room.
That is if we're on one side.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Kandi Obunga. Something you do not know about me. Okay, I come from Migori County. I am an agripreneur, but in terms of professionalism, I am an international security analyst. Thank you.
Asante.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Onyango Kuchieng. I'm a student at Nairobi University, specifically Kabete campus.
Ngombe.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nini hiyo watu wajui kuhusu?
I think whatever you guys don't know about me is the kind of energy I possess.
We want to see that energy today. Yeah.
Hey everyone. Okay, my name is Hina Cherop. I'm a student at the Technical University of Kenya. What most of you maybe don't know about me, I'm a model.
I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe you are all keeping great and harmonious. My name is Onyango Lennox Ndeda. First thing, I'm an engineer.
Okay.
So, structural engineer in all kind of seismic focus and ETAPS development in terms of high-rise structures. Number 2, I'm a Puritan, exegete, and apologist. And what people know about me is that I'm one of the ardent theologians who not only learns but also teaches theology in Pentecostal levels. So I think that's a very compelling encounter.
Thank you. What do you have for now? Yes. Oh, yeah. Let us go to Amatuajia hapa. So wanasema ladies first.
Okay, hi everyone.
Hi.
My name is Valerie Ndanu. I come from Machakos University. What people don't know about me is that I can sing and draw.
You'll sing for us at the end of the show.
If there's time.
Oh, wow. Shapata msanii.
Okay. Hello everyone.
Hello.
My name is Elvis Sombuke. I'm a software engineer by profession. I'm a youth leader in Wiper Patriotic Front. It's not right now. We are not Wiper Party. We are Wiper Patriotic Front. One thing you don't know about me, I run Tech Literacy for Africa. We're here to empower young people on tech matters, and I'm very good in deciding. Yeah.
Viva, thank you.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
My name is Cecilia Kenya Kongo, a student at the University of Nairobi. I think one thing you guys don't know about me is I'm left-handed.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. You're my comrade.
Okay.
But you need with the right.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
My name is Vincent Odhiambo, civil engineer by profession. I specialize in highway engineering. I'm also the chairperson of Wise Men Association in East and Central Africa. One thing people don't know me is that I've served as the chairperson of Virgins in Nairobi. Longer than I've been the chairperson of Wise Men. Hapo ndipo.
Kuna maneno bwana. Yes, mheshimiwa karibu.
Thank you. My name is Ogindo. And the one thing you don't know about me is that there's nothing left to be known about me.
So thank you so much for that good round of introductions, and we'll jump right into it. So first, we are starting on a very sad note as a country. You remember just this week we had got the fire at Utumishi, and I think for that perhaps we can observe a minute of silence in honor of the 16 students that lost their lives. Cindy? Sawa.
Kumbe 1 minute ni refu kama watu waongei.
Yeah, 1 minute inakuanga refu. So it was so sad. I think the pain has been unimaginable. But one thing that baffles me, especially from where I sit, tumeona kwamba there was that fire, but politicians never cease to amaze us. Kuna watu ambao they have just been waiting for tragedy, and they keep on wanangoja tu tragedy ifanyike, then they use it for political expediency. So the question today is, at what point do we unite as Kenyans na tunasema kwamba regardless of side gani niko, nitakondem hii kitu. You remember the other time there was the case of a lady who was doused in petrol, alafu unfortunately she lost her life in hospital. The gospel artist, sindio? Na inasemekana it was because of the tattoo that she had, sindio? And there are still people who are vilifying even at the point ya kifo yake, sindio? And then after that, we also had the other lady from Kibra. Again, the same thing happened. And then at Utumishi, instead of just sending your condolences or grieving with the family, you are seeing somebody still using that one also for politics. Unaona? So that is the question we are asking ourselves today. Wewe kama Gen Z, it seems today you are judged more based on the person that you support rather than character yako kama mse. So nataka nianze na nyinyi kwanza before I come back to the panelists. And the first question would be, is that the case, Biko? Siku hizi before hata mtu anakujudge based on mwenye una support kuliko character yako.
Well, thank you very much, Tony. I would like to agree with you that indeed we are more judged by the people we support rather than our characters. There's this obsession we as a nation have for attention, whereby if something goes wrong, you simply want to be the first and the loudest to express your view about a certain issue. Most of the time to the detriment of the people who are affected. And just out of humanity, let me just send my condolences to the families that lost their loved ones in that tragic fire. It is a very shameful thing indeed, because instead of someone taking that time to understand where you're coming from, engaging you from a position of understanding you, they are quick to judge you they're quick to judge you, but just because either you are against the government or not.
Yeah.
I believe it's high time as a nation we try to dig deeper into our moral fabric, what really holds us as a nation. We try to dig into what we really stand for as a people, because it cannot be that each and every time, even when we are facing potential threats, we use that opportunity to engage in politics and to use it to antagonize other people. To me, it's not settling very well, and I will wish to encourage us that we stop that culture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bik. I think that was well articulated, and I want to come to you, Lennox. At what point does disagreement now become hatred? That because now I disagree with Biko, now I start hating it. Kama hiyo. And you look at the kind of tolerance leo, ni kama imepungua. Is our generation becoming less tolerant?
Oh, thank you so much, Tony, for that. I think one of the most notable scholars from Essex, that is the UK, argues that I might not agree with what you are saying, but I will defend to death the right of you saying it. And that is something that we as Kenyans have lacked. The narrative that disagreement is equivalent to confrontation, equivalent to violence, that domino process is a very much infatuation that should be deducted negatively by all of us.
Yeah.
So it is your question, it is what is happening in the country, especially at this time, that if you disagree on ideologies, then I should hate you, I should not like you, I should celebrate your downfall, I should celebrate your suffering and anguish, and simultaneously, you should not celebrate with me when I win, but you should cry with me when I'm in pain. You get the narrative, and that is what has led to the natural and national divide currently in the country. That we have, the politicians are now determining the love for each other, how people can love and like each other in this country. Is a very bad dogma. I think it has to be abolished.
Thank you, Bueno. That was well elaborate. I'll come to you at a later time. Yes,
So
Candy.
we can simplify.
Absolutely. Candy, my question to you is that our schools are producing doctors and lawyers and engineers, but our schools producing good citizens.
I think when it comes to how we are as people, education starts from home. And that is, I think, the basic fabric of where of where society begins. And so, yes, you can be a graduate. Yes, you have gone through school, but how you have been socialized and how you have been brought up also adds on to how you are perceived to the society. If we look at the tragedy that has happened at Utumishi Girls, there's CCTV footage that is showing a particular set of girls who are setting the dorm on fire. That is not anything to do with the school per se, but has to do with the personality and, I think, the home training of these students, to the point that they can set a dorm on fire and put other children in harm's way. I think there's a structural problem that happened. Yeah, so we are not just looking at it from an education, a formal education perspective, but also how they are culturally and how they relate with people within society in general.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. And I like that you bring out the aspect that could be that there are valid reasons as to why they are frustrated. But is banning the school the answer? And I want to come to you, Vene. You've heard Candy allude to the fact that this is suspected to be a case of arson. So my question is that when you feel frustrated and you end up banning the school, and we understand there are other avenues you could use maybe to address this frustration, what does that say about our education system? Is it perhaps times to maybe review the education system or how we deal with our frustrations?
Okay, thank you. First, I would say that our education system focuses much more on the profession or the theoretical aspect are not shaping someone's personality or teaching someone morality. Then number two, there is ignorance on how to express our frustrations or how to seek for help whenever we need it. Students are undergoing serious mental health issues across the country, but there is no proper structures that can address those issues. Yeah, we are living in the past where those cases were negligible. We need to readdress or restructure our education systems and align it with the current trends among students.
To you, Ombuki, are Kenyans united by shared frustrations, or what truly unites Kenyans?
Thank you. When it comes to unity in Kenya, for me, I think Kenyans will unite in any matter except politics. When it comes to sports will bring people together, be it you are in one term, be it you are in two term, be it you are this tribe. But in sports, every person will come to agree on one thing, that's sport. But when it comes to politics, I think we have made it to be in a demonic way. Right now, we see politics as a game of enmity. If you support this side, then you are my enemy. If I support this side, if I see you in this way, then I see you in an enemy way. We have made politics as it's a platform of dividing people. You are saying a good thing here, but you support this person, what you are saying is not good to me. You are doing a good thing, but you're supporting this person, you are not doing a good thing. So Kenyans will unite, yeah, but not around politics.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, Mbuki, when you speak as if Kenyans are a different class. There are some Kenyans somewhere and you are not part of them. So I want us to hold this distraction. Tukiongea unasema as if wewe si wewe ni Mkenya. Yeah, you speak as if wewe ni one of. So you own the discussion, si ndio? Nataka nikuje kwako Ndanu. And you've seen there's a time you said sports unite us, but there's a time even the president tried rewarding players wa CAF, and there are people still politicize the issue, wakasema mara wanapatia. So as a young Gen Z today, do you feel that we are more united today than the generations that came us, ama yetu we are actually becoming more intolerant kuliko?
I think this nation, we are not united at all. Because whether be it in sports or in any other thing, I don't think we are united at all as a nation. We keep politicizing every single thing. And the thing is, those people who are politicizing these things are doing so because it is not favoring them. For example, I'll give an example of the former deputy president, Gachagua.
Yeah.
When he was in power, he was, and I think he talked in JQuat, the graduation, and said to the youth that there are no jobs out there. But now, because he's out of power, he's now criticizing everything that the government is doing. So I think these politicians, these people, like, they will politicize all these things because it is not favoring them. They do that when they are not in power.
Okay.
Like in that example I've given for deputy president, the former deputy president, Gachagua. Like, so long as it's not favoring them, so long as they're not in power or gaining anything, they will politicize it. And we as Kenyans have just played into their games that we no longer care about anything. So I think as a nation, we are not united at all in anything. And we have just truly, honestly, turned away from God and everything, to the point that a lady can be killed because she's supporting a certain leader. So, and we don't show any remorse or mercy or empathy towards that. Like, we just bypass it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not people don't come sit down and talk about it. They just move on like it's something common. So I think we are not united at all. As a nation, we have really gone away from God.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And I think I'm just winding up before I come now to my panelists. Nataka nikuje kwako Hina. Who is supposed to teach us these values we are talking about? Values such as empathy, for example, such as unity. Who are supposed to be teaching these things? Is it the church? Is it the school? Is it the family?
Okay, thank you, Tony. I feel the values should be taught at home, school, church. They all play different roles, but in terms of teaching us those values, they should unite. We learn, okay, in school we learn more of theory, but I feel like they should incorporate our values more. Let's go with the trends like mental wellness, how to tolerate each other politically. Yeah, in church also, let's talk about living with each other in peace.
Someone says the only people who are united are Manchester United. I want to come to you, Derek. So I know you may have you belong to one side of the political divide. True or false? True, Cindy. So if something was to happen to a friend of yours when you belong to the other side of the divide, would you be willing to help the person?
Okay.
Yes or no?
Thank you for this chance.
Okay.
So I don't think you need a simple answer.
Okay.
A yes or no, or a little bit explanation. Okay, but what I can say, I can help, regardless of what, because if he or she is having that problem, why shouldn't I be helping him? Why should I bring the political ideologies or analysis like he is from this side, I can't support him? Why can't he go this way? No, we have to help one another. Because be it we are in this, we have different ideologies in politics. Life is life. We have to be together. Exactly.
Thank you so much, Derek. Finally, to you, Cecil. I know you are a lady, and recently we also had those cases. So how did you feel when you there was that lady who was doused in acid and eventually akapoteza maisha yake? Kwako ulifeel aje as a lady, a young lady in this country?
Thank you so much. I felt bad, definitely. But I think we also, as young ladies, we should be responsible. And we are the ones who are supposed to take charge of our own lives, because you don't expect someone else, or you don't expect our president to come and now start guiding your life. So I think we should be responsible. I think those so many cases, those feminine cases, some of them happened because of irresponsibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come back to you. Now over to our panelists, and I want to start with you. Sijui nianze na wewe Mundalo. Today you'll be on the receiving end.
The problem is where I sat.
Let me spare you. Let me go to Johan first. So why is it very attractive today? Outrage is more attractive than reason. So you find that somebody will not really interrogate an issue per se, but will be very, very willing to, like what we call whipping of emotions. Unaona? Why is that the case today? Is it because maybe tolerance imepungua ama ni shida iko wapi?
First of all, I want to offer my heartfelt condolences, to the families who've lost their children. It's heartbreaking as a mother, to lose your child, and especially for a child to die in an institution that, as a parent, you feel should be protecting the child. And my heart goes out to the families, and even to those who are in hospitals. May they get well soon. Whatever is going on in Kenya currently, the intolerance that you're talking about is something that baffles me quite a bit. And for me, I think it also has got to do with this culture of everything being transactional. So it begins with, young people being engaged and directed to say certain things on social media. The advent of social media has brought with it challenges where you find young people will sit behind keyboards. You call them keyboard warriors.
Keyboard warriors. And
say anything without regard to the repercussion that whatever they're saying will have within society. And the interesting thing is, you know, people who are supposed to be giving those young people proper directions, are the ones who are misusing them and taking advantage of the fact that they may not have jobs, or taking advantage of the fact that, you know, there's this thing called pesa that we can get very easily. And so a young person will go beside, you know, behind a keyboard and sometimes type things that I wonder whether they sit back and think about. And for me, it still goes back to what Candy said, value systems. What value systems do we have these young people socialized in? Where I live in a block of apartments, and we have other families who live with us, and I have grown-up children. And a lot of times, you know, these kids destroy property. You'll find they have broken your doorbell, or sometimes they have messed up your car, broken the wiper. I've had to deal with that. Or sometimes they've taken a stone and thrown on your car, you know. And you talk about these things to the parents, and the parents don't care, right? They're busy, sijui wanatafuta pesa, sijui wanatafuta nini. So you wonder, how are these kids going to be directed in life when from that young age, you know, they are destroying property and they're not being guided? So for me, I think the fact that young people lack mentorship, they have found themselves in spaces where, because someone will give them some little money, 500 shillings, they find themselves in a space where they can be able to ignite a very big problem without necessarily knowing. And I'd like to ask, I always like to speak to you young people by asking questions. That time when you sit behind that keyboard and you type whatever you type that is very inflammatory, what goes through your mind? And do you think about the repercussions? And I'm asking the ones who are actually following online, do you think about the repercussions that your statement may have across board? And this brings me to politicians. I don't even understand why politicians are taking this whole issue about children who have died in a fire without interrogating it and flaring emotions against government. What are you helping by doing that as a politician? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Joanna. And I'm happy that you also spoke to the place of mentorship. And many of these young people are finding themselves in places they've never been before. And sometimes that mentorship could really come in handy. Abasho, how many of us have been keyboard warriors that are campus politics too? So, leo mnakatana na wajua. Kwanza kuna watu kuna masudu hapa, si ndio? Yeah, so thank you so much, Joanne, for that. I want to come to you, Mheshimiwa, because you've also been with us. And my question to you is that what values did previous generations have that the young people of today seem to be losing? Because today we are in a world whereby, yani, anything goes. Ni kama hatuna hata master. No, ladies mnakuanga na standards. But today as a generation, ni kama hatuna hata master. So what are some of these values that you people used to have that sisi hatuna leo ama we are losing?
Thank you, Tony. And first and foremost, my prayers and sympathies to the victims of the recent fires in the country, particularly in the schools. And I think it is very sad that we still have fires in schools, taking lives of the young ones. But allow me to say that in my view, I think our education system is outdated. The way in which we take our children through education, I think is a little outdated, because the model we are using was designed to produce workers that could take over the country at independence and drive it after the colonialists left. And because we were training workers, we needed to train them with discipline in confinement. I think the time for confining students is long gone because of the explosion of information in the world today. The young ones today have so much information, And if you keep them in confinement, they get frustrated and they can do all manner of things. Number two, as a person who grew up earlier than the current generation, I had the privilege of growing up under the stewardship of my parents. I would interact with my parents almost on a daily basis from class 1 all the way to class 7. And when I came back from school, I would still interact with my parents. I think today, hardly do children interact with their parents because, and like was pointed out by Candy, that these values and systems of life you are first given by parents. But today, parents are too busy. The father is busy, the mother is busier, and the child is equally busy with a sackload over his back from school to homework. People don't interact. And that is where we lose it. And I wish we could review so that there's more interaction between children as they grow up and their parents. Because now we are letting people grow up. Okay, they are human beings, yes, but they are without values. The only legit source of value is your parents. And when it comes to colleagues that you're growing up with, there you can go any direction you choose as a group, as peers. But if you want values, it is your mother, your father, grandmother, and grandfather that will impact that to you. I wanted to add something, but I think that would be too long. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think that was very profound, sindio?
Yeah.
Na clock it, eh? Normally here tuna wangapi wanajua ku clock. When you know how to clock and you're the chair of Nini. Thank you so much. I think to go live on Redring TV on YouTube, and also we are also to go live pia on Mwalimu Odoyo with his Facebook page na pia Facebook page ya Redring Media. So stay tuned. But guys, by the way, we are doing very well, especially as a show. Kuna watu wameanza hata kutukopi. They are doing something similar hivi, lakini sasa my points ni deadly, sindio? Thank you so much for that. I want to come to you, Advice Mundalo, and I just want you to give us and to speak to the fact that every tragedy in this country seems to be a political battleground. Even before facts are established, utasikia, oh man, this guy was incompetent, and there's also the civil society pia. Every time kuna tragedy, wako na pressure. Kweli uongo? Utaona kuna meza hapo, they are calling for resignation of somebody. So why is that the case? So ni kama like there's a scramble for tragedies. Watu wanangoja tu this one happen so that they then use it for political expedience. Karibu Mundalo.
Thank you very much, Tony Blair. Thank you for not starting with me. I also wanted to listen first. I think the question you ask about why is it that we want to use tragedy to political advantage is something that we have degenerated as a society, and I think we are at the height of it today more than it was before. Because where we are today is that people have their agenda set before the objective. So we are not anchored on the objectivity of the matter. No, we first of all have the agenda. So we are civil society, but we have already decided that our agenda is anti-government. Okay? So that is the agenda that we have already set. So we look for everything that is anti-government, that is the one we raise a voice on. Not everything that is human rights. And that is why when the discussion or the thing is on human rights, but it appears pro-government, like the banning of the girl in Kasarani, then we find ourselves at crossroads because we decided our agenda first. We decided that first of all we are human rights but anti-government. So when we are coming out to now say that we want to condemn the banning of this girl, we are more about, but you see the tattoo was about William Ruto, and so we go silent on it. So the same thing with the opposition that we have today in Kenya. Our opposition, periodically and previously, we always have had two sets, the government and the opposition. It has always been like that. But now, the difference between then and now is that the objective of both government and opposition used to be the success of the people and the success of the government. Because we cannot be as a country where some of us wish government fails. And yet we are in that country. Because we forget that when government fails, we all fail. Now, today, opposition does not operate like that. We have an opposition that wishes that government fails, actually. And that's why they already have their agenda set. So for everything that happens in the country, their line of argument must go towards the failure. And they have also decided that we have certain people in this government that we don't want. So they have already decided that, for instance, we do not want the CS for Interior, Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen. So it does not matter even if Sakaja's food did not get to schools, they will still blame Kipchumba Murkomen. Because the objective is more Murkomen than the entire objectivity of anything else. So whatever happens when there is a tragedy in Nakuru, the person they say must go is still Kipchumba Murkomen. And that's where the juxtapose comes in. That's why you'll be able to find them. Sometimes they confuse themselves because there is a tragedy that happens at Utumishi. They say the CS must go because it was poor responsiveness. Then there's another tragedy that happens in Muranga, and there is good responsiveness, and we are lucky that the children get saved. But on that one, they praise the governor. Because if tragedy is the same thing, then where we have praised or where we have admonished Murkomen, when there is a solution and this one feels like the response was in good time, then we must also be able to praise the same Murkomen. But no, it is the selective amnesia, and that is the problem that has bedeviled our politics today. But then when you come to now the question of what about our intolerance, we as the people, remember, our generation is more intolerant than generations that came before us. Because I look at the nature of the problems that generations before us were dealing with, and they were massive. They were dealing with colonialists. They were dealing with land issues, very heavy issues. But rarely do you read in the history that then they started fighting each other in hotels. Now, today, the intolerance is so much, and then the question must then be asked, why is intolerance so much today? And I argue in two ways. That number one, our intolerance, number one, is on social media, even more than on the ground. And that's why when you look at the people during the tragedy at Utumishi, the border people went to start helping to save the children. They didn't start by asking where those children's political inclination is. The people who tweak this thing into politics is social media. Now, who is on social media? It then becomes more or less most of the people on this social media are with the young people. So meaning that the politicians and the political class are spinning the narrative and misusing the younger people. But why are we being misused as young people? Because number one, we have a constant need for validation. Our need for validation today is higher than our need for food. And that's why if putting a camera before me and saying obscene things about President Ruto will give me likes, that is what I'll do, because my adrenaline is so much to that effect. Okay? I write so much and I speak so much, but people of my nature of writing and speaking do not get viral. Why? Because virality is associated with certain kind of content. And sometimes even the people speaking outside there, when you meet them, they don't mean the things they were saying. It was just a need for them to get shares, likes, and constant validation. And where now I blame Mwalimu Odoyo's generation and Honorable Gindo's generation, is that when all this happened, they continued to be silent. That when the younger people continued having a craving for validation, they continued validating them even more. And so at some point in the last administration, I remember when Matiang'i was CS Interior, there was a rampage of banning schools in this country. I don't know whether you remember. But what did government do when schools were banning? Previously, when we banned schools when I was in school, we used to be called out, we as the students. But we got to a point where when the students banned the school, government responds by transferring the principal. Okay? Yeah. So the person who was able to be blamed was never the student. So the burden of responsibility was taken away from the child. And we continued saying, no, the child should be understood. You know, you don't understand this generation. You know, and so constantly we continued existing in a space whereby we are a generation whereby we are constantly being validated. And number two, we are never meeting disagreement. We have been denied a disagreement. And that's why anytime someone disagrees with our ideas, we think they are disagreeing with us as individuals. We can't tolerate it. And that's why we start fighting over politics. Because we have never been taught that people can disagree with you. That's why today you get to a house of someone and you can be just serious. You are 2, 3 very serious adults, Tony Blair. You walk into your friend's house and you find a child watching cartoon and nothing can happen. Now all of you have to watch the cartoon.
Oh yeah.
Why? Because we don't want to, don't tell the child, we cannot disagree. And that's why that child will grow, and in future, when that child says she or he supports Ruto and you say you support someone else, they think you are attacking them as a person because they have not been taught and they have never known disagreement. And that is the tragedy of our generation. And these are the things that we must start learning in good time. Let me stop there.
Yeah. Wow. It's 2 o'clock. Thank you so much, Mundal. I think you ilikuwa very insightful. And I know you people have been attacked at some point. So you don't have to agree with everything the panelist says. You can actually note it down. I'll give you an opportunity to either ask a question or to respond. Cindy? Yeah, so...
When you clock, those people who have got sight impairment, how do they know they are appreciated?
Okay. Okay, we are going to use another means. Sasa tunatumia mbinu nyingine, si ndio? Ama we can clap, ndio? Clap. Okay, so. But thank you so much, Mundalo, for that. I think you've spoken to so many issues within your presentation, and I like that you have actually challenged even the young people. Some of the times before we post hiyo kitu nataka, I know many of us are obsessed with likes. Wangapi wako social media hapa? Who tu muone. And I know most of us are... See what? Are you lifting your hand ama una strength?
I lifted both.
Thank you so much. So sometimes your obsession na likes, you are looking at something and it's a trend, kitu controversial. But sometimes una compromise national unity, si ndio? So many of us are learning. Wangapi wana learn kitu? Because hapa tunakuja ku learn and relearn. Asante sana. I want to come to you, mwalimu. And my question to you is very simple. Kuna hiyo wakati ambayo Kenyans waliwahi unite. Si kama saizi ambayo we are looking at something that can unite us. What really unites us, mwalimu?
I had expected a tragedy to unite us. I had expected celebrations to unite us. I had expected war. And war does not only account for the military war. We can be fighting another country in sports or anything. Those should unite us. I remember there was a time Westgate was bombed. Then opposition led by Raila Odinga and the government led by, I think, Uhuru Kenyatta, even had a joint press conference. I would have imagined by the disaster that we had yesterday in the dormitory fire, there would be a joint press conference between the president and Rigathi Gachagua. But I think the bitterness has been taken to another level. And this is what our children are coping. You know, when we grow up, our learning begins from emotional, and as we grow, it goes to logical, and as we grow, it went all the way up to abstract, where you can even reason without seeing things physically. When you have a country where a political leader wakes up one day and tells you that in my community, we don't tolerate betrayal. After a few days, he goes to say again, who is a betrayer in their community? He says anybody who supports the government of the day is a betrayer in our community. You get those things?
Yeah.
They are coming together. They say they don't forgive. Next, they define who is a betrayer. Third, the radicals in that community now looks for the betrayer. How do you identify a betrayer? A person who supports the government. How do you identify a person who supports the government? He will be wearing something government or a tattoo government. What do? They buy petrol, set the person on fire, burns to death. And it is a torturous death because you are alive but you are on fire. Then the fire goes off, then you remain in pain until the day you die. But instead of that uniting us, both the opposition and the government coming together to condemn it. The government condemns it, and the opposition celebrates it. And our children are watching, and they think it is the right thing to do because the person they believe in it supported it. The person they believe in instigated it. So our biggest problem is our people. Our children in schools are us, still growing. Those things they do, they watch us out here. So we must, as parents, be the first people to prevent what we saw in school. I also saw on news a parent from that school whose daughter was seen as the girls who arranged mattresses in the dormitory and set on fire. And she was wailing loudly and saying she wants her daughter, even if she was the one who burnt the school. I'm sure some of you have seen that video. Then you start wondering, there is a parent whose daughter was burnt alive in pain and is not wailing like the one whose daughter is alive and is only in police custody. What that tells you about human beings, we are inherently very selfish. The pain to a fellow Kenyan is not pain. It is a pain to me, which is pain. I always say Kenya belongs to all of us, and we must learn to share it equally and equitably. All resources, including leadership. If we do not do that, we can only become the worst country going forward. But our emotions, it was politicians uses. Politicians uses the fact that if we create for you fear, you want protection from that fear. If we create for you hope, you want to be in that hope. That is why they will tell you how somebody is so bad that if he's let to continue or get to power, people will die. Our community will suffer. And then they sell to you hope that if it is them, all your problems will fly away like a dove seeing an eagle. And that does not happen. And the same people who tell you all this and you believe, you have been with them for 30, 40 years, and they have never achieved what they are now telling you they finally achieve. And why do we believe them? We believe them because they have sold for us hope. Hope is a beautiful thing. They have sold to us fear, which we must run away from. Religion succeeded because religion sells hope and fear in equal quantities. And that is why we are even going to kill you if you play with our religion, because it is protecting us from our fears and taking us to where we hope to get to. And this, we must, as young people, always fact check what the politicians tell us. And these days they have become very clever. They will tell you things that you cannot fact check. For example, I was reading a poster today. Somebody said the president must be impeached, and then he enumerated the president mistakes. Number one, they said the cost of living is very high. They know very well you have no way of measuring the cost of living. They said the president is corrupt. They know you have no way of measuring corruption. They said the cost of fuel is high. They know you know it is high, but they are not telling you how it became high. So when you look at all these accusations, they are what we call glittering generalities. They just put things that are general that you cannot measure and say, this is the figure we have. This is the figure we have in the previous presidency. This is the one we had before. This is the one we hope to achieve. They use that, but they know it has the effect of raising your emotions. And these high emotions in schools are the ones that destroy us. There was a time in this country when, I think it was Moi, Nairobi Girls, similar fire went in. And it was rumored that it was done by a very senior politician whose daughter who did that was later sent out of the country. That story still goes on among children. And if they think they have such high-profile parents, they can still get away with such murder. But what fuels it most is politicians celebrating the death of a woman who has been set on fire. That means they think it is the right thing to do. But I also must say, Mundalo said that he is accusing us because these things happened and we kept quiet. Mundalo, if you went to school the days I went, before you leave for school, your parents put you down and tell you what not to talk about in the buses. You are in a bus going to school. The names, the adjective you are supposed to use. Yet we came out of that, you found now where you can talk the way we are talking today. Did we do some work? Because we slayed the lion and we have now left you with our talk. You can always, yes. So we did some work. We did some work. Those days, you could be arrested anytime. No lawyer wants to defend you. And nobody is under obligation to say why you have been arrested. Again, it was because there was a constitution then which did not give much protection to the ordinary citizen. Today, we have one like that. But again, a constitution may be good, but it also depends on who is in power. For example, the same constitution we have here, we had it from 2013. It was promulgated in 2010, but we started clearly using it then. Between 2013 and now, there was one president who thought that the media is against him, so he shut down media houses for weeks. The ones we have today cannot risk that. So it also depends on who is power. The one we are now being told is a dictator, obeys all court orders. The one that was there before disobeyed 12 court orders on record. There is no single court order that has been disobeyed by the current president. But politicians are telling us he is a dictator. There's no dictator who ever listened to a magistrate or a judge, or even the Supreme Court. There's none. A dictator is one who does not succumb to the rule of law. They are ones who do things the way they want to do it and how they choose to do it. So as a people, we must agree that we must come together and protect ourselves and our country against rogue members of our society. If we do not do that, we are not going to be a country that we have today. It is going to deteriorate because we have leaders today campaigning against the one we have, and we have heard what they have said before, and we are hearing what they are saying now, and they are not telling us whether it is now they are talking the truth or in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Asante sana. Maybe a round of applause for our panelists.
I don't know. OTB, I've just received a text here. And it's actually a write-up by someone called Mwalimu Amunga. And it's titled Expose on the Utumishi Girls Academy Tragedy. And what he's saying that homosexual demons at Utumishi Academy are the ones behind this, that a gang of lesbians attacked and burnt victims for rejecting them. So he's saying that teachers at the Utumishi Girls Academy now claim that the arson attack at the school was caused by rival lesbian gangs within the institution. Lesbianism in the school is not only rampant, but is largely tolerated and known to the board of management and the principal. I'm just reading this out, and maybe, we need to start interrogating this thing a little deeper and remove our heads from what politicians are saying and thinking that government should be at every parent's house, at every school. We need to start beginning to have a look at this issue very deeply. And I'm speaking as a parent and very pained about this. And for the record, I'm not a proponent of boarding schools. My children didn't go to boarding schools.
Wow. Clock it.
Wow. I want to say something about what you have just read. That expose is alleging the cause of what happened.
Yeah.
But first and most important, we really want to know who did it. We really want to be sure who did it. But the moment we have suspects, from what they tell us, from what their friends will tell us, we will know. But you cannot solve a problem without knowing who and why it was
Exactly.
done.
The root.
The root cause.
Asante, thank you so much for that. I want to come back to you. Najua, you people are very eager to maybe ask questions to our panelists, but before you do, so utainua tu mkono and then I'll give you an opportunity. Is that okay?
Yeah, maybe you can tell us if lesbianism is a reality in schools. Because you were there just the other day.
Yeah.
By the way, because...
And if it raises that level of emotion that can make you burn a whole dormitory.
And kill others. Yeah.
Rival, I think that is quite unfortunate. And then also, maybe to start with you, yeah. And I just want to ask you, because seemingly this looks like a deeper problem emanating right from the family level, to the extent that unafika kwa kampo, and then you are willing to ban like other students kwa shule. So maybe you can briefly also speak to that as a young person. I believe you went to a boarding school, just like myself.
National.
Okay, thank you so much, Chief Moderator UTB. I think it's very timely discussion, and time might constrain us, but we are going to ensure we give it justice. Society itself, if you study society and culture, from the top societal zealots, whether Gust Comte, Imelda Kim, Herbert Spencer, J.S. Mill, all these people, Max Weber, society has three main ways of responding to deficiencies or frustration. The four main ways. There's one called egoistic, anomic, altruistic, and fatalistic. Whatever happened at Utumishi, based on the allegations that are being made right now, that is what we call anomic. In the essence that if you live in a society that disagrees with your values, disagrees with your desires, disagrees with what you feel, then you now stand to act that you are now isolated. Then you want them to join you by force. There's another one called fatalistic. This one now, in the essence that fatalistic just meaning suicidal in short. Suicide is fatalistic. Fair enough. Altruistic is now the opposite of anomic. That you live in a very bad society, but you are the good person in the society. So you are isolated as a good person, and you find yourself frustrated, you can even die because of being a good person. And the last one, I said egoistic. Egoistic is now the one facing what we call the social media thing, where your idea must win. The ego is too much. You claim that if it is not my opinion, then I'm going to ban you. That's what we are talking about. So you realize that the egoistic level of societal response has really overtaken us. You expect, and some people are even knowledgeable for egoistic purposes to an extent that in mental health we call it how do we call it? It's a disorder actually. Ego is a disorder in mental health. That you feel that you are the most important, you feel you are the most qualified, and then now when people try to pin you down with points, for instance, my superior here, if I try to now disagree with him in some pertinent issues, and he's richer than me, is more successful than me, I start now. I know that I'm unsuccessful, just comparative. Yes. Then now, if I tend to, maybe we are discussing a technical point, myself as an engineer, then he's also trying to contribute, but he's a commerce person. You get it? Now he will try to pin me down by force. Can even arrest me.
What money do you have?
That's the grand question. So the egoistic level of response, I think we really have to work on it. Also giving a very technical perspective on this narrative of, just to make a small commentary on the fire, on that inferno that's very unfortunate. I think we really need to even take this thing technical and structural enough. How do we as a government regulate even the infrastructure and everything? Because if it was caused by electricity, for instance, you are an electrical engineer, you know what can happen. Discordant. So if then are we going to blame electricity? Or are we going to blame Kenya Power? Or are we going to blame geothermal? You get it? Yes. So it's not about blame game. The dormitory itself, if you look at the structure, it was like a go down in Mombasa Road. It's very unfortunate. The design itself, there must be escape routes. So this problem, as far as we are fueling it in terms of ideologies, politics, and even policies, this thing must start from the foundation of buildings and foundation of before we take it into family values. Let us have technical approach to it. So I think to conclude it and to give fair justice to your question, the society itself, we must accept that people are more, we have people superior to us. We have people more informed than us in different areas. And that's why in China, they introduce a rule that if you're not qualified, you are not allowed to comment on that thing. When you are filling your social media, you say, my name is Onyango Lennox Deda, I'm an engineer. If I attempt to comment anything on law, it is flagged off immediately. You can't post it. That's what we need to have as a country. You realize nowadays,
so that we don't have influencers commenting on it.
yeah, and influencers giving that a Harvard Ivy League graduate. You ask yourself, what kind of nonsense is this? The other day I was seeing another one talking to a medical doctor discussing, somebody posted their skin, that what can this be? And then the doctors are the one having less opinions than average people. Yeah, so I think as a government also, we really need to try doing that one, because we are Kenya, we are the most active in terms of technology in Africa. Internet penetration and connectivity, we are best. Electricity, we are the best in the continent. So we really need to now start regulating that information thing. That if you're not qualified, then just follow what the qualified people are saying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Leave it there, because you are going to upset so many people. And one thing comes out quite clear, that we as the young people especially, we are very gullible, especially to these comments by these influencers. Ukisikia tu huyu amesema this and this, you believe now that one now is the truth, sindio? And I know many times we've fallen prey to that. But I want also to come to us, the role of holding public servants accountable. Right now, kuna pia hiyo issue ya finance bill. And you'll hear many politicians telling you, the young people, reject that finance bill. Na wewe unaipata hivyo, because somebody has told you to reject it, you go on, reject it. So I also want you, and I can start with you, Candy, alafu nikuje wako Biko. How can young people ensure that then we hold the right leaders accountable? We know that finance bill inaanzanga wapi, inafika wapi, and who are the ones responsible for that. But kuna hiyo obsession ya reject in totality, and there's a lot of whipping of emotions to ensure that is achieved. And there's also the lumping up of every other blame on the president. Kila kitu ikifanyika, ni rais. We are forgetting to kuna county government zetu hapa, the role of the ministry na hii. You have elected a member of parliament who is supposed to be doing. So maybe you can speak to that, Candy, before I come to you, Biko.
Hey, OTB, that question is heavy, but I think I think the problem is that we are not doing our bit as Gen Z to be informed. We are not reading as much as we should read. For example, now, even with the finance bill, the current finance bill, the discourse that is taking place in social media is touching on a very small percentage of what the finance bill entails. And what is also being flared up in social media is also very specific, because they know that when the masses take in this information, their emotions will be flared up to be anti-government. So the first thing is have people read and understand the finance bill. I was on social media. I'm always on social media, but there was once a conversation on the finance bill, particularly touching on the cost of cell phones, that it would go up. And people saying that if you were to buy a phone for 10,000 after the finance bill, it would be like 12,000. But there's an economist that I usually follow, and she broke down the costing of what it means for an imported phone to cost this amount. Basically, she was breaking down how the finance bill arrived at the pricing and saying that it is not a bad thing. If anything, it is a good thing.
So the problem that we have is that we are not reading as much as we should. And then we are taking what other people are saying and making it now our problem. And then when somebody who is rationally thinking and explaining and telling you that actually it is not this,
Yes.
we ni mtu wa Ruto, hakuna kitu naweza niambia umelipwa. Yeah, so that is the
Thank
problem.
you. Asante sana, Kandi. You see, as a Gen Z, you've been able to really articulate the question very well. Thank you so much for that. And I'm happy that you are saying we as Gen Zs are not reading enough. Sindio? I don't know whether the other Gen Zs agree with you. Naona venye nakuangalia. But Biko, perhaps you can also speak to that. I know you normally read WhatsApp status and
Well, it's a good point that Candy has put across, and there's this popular narrative, a popular say that if you want to add something from an African, put it in a book. Well, I tend to believe that's true, particularly in our country. However, again, I'd also like to talk about freedom, and the fact that there's a lot of freedom in our society nowadays, where you're allowed to say anything, do anything. No one can question you because it's democracy. So again, this is also the impact of that, and really it goes to the personal, individual level. Yeah. Like for example, me, Steve Biko. What is my initiative? When the finance bill is released, do I take time to go through it? Well, like myself, I take time to go through the finance bill. I've been reading the finance bill since I was from when I was in Form 4 up to now. Each and every year, I go through the finance bill.
Because at Form 4, you were reading the finance bill.
After I finished Form 4, I was reading the finance bill. Yes, and most of the times I don't understand the jargon, the legal jargon in the finance bill. So nowadays I just put it in AI, artificial intelligence. Then it explains to me what's going on there. So let us take our time to interrogate this finance bill, so that we don't just talk around just because empty vessels make the most noise. Sindio?
Yeah.
So let us take our time, go through them.
Unakanyaga shingo.
Yeah, definitely. The Gen Zs will not like me for saying this, but that's the reality. Because if people are having a sober conversation and you just want to come up with the things that you heard, some TikToker or influencer saying on TikTok, it doesn't make sense. Let us just take our time and go through this material, because the Constitution is there. You can download it; it's for free. You can go through the various articles that are there, and you'll be informed. And even when we come to this platform, you'll have something to say. And it. Thank you very much, Tony.
Biko, umesema the Constitution is not for sale. Thank you, Biko, for that. Also, Candy, naona uko na mic, wise man, and rightly so. There's an obsession to just reject things. Unaona? Because I said that there are certain instances you read the finance bill and you realize by the kitu si ati ni mbaya venye watu wanasema huku nje. It is only bad once you've not read it. Like, okay, you realize it has got so many benefits. So I just wanted to speak to that. Your obsession ya reject. I know you are a Luo student, so pale campus pia we are also known to be activists. Unaona? So maybe you can speak to that. Kuna tu ile aje unataka kureject kitu hata hujaisoma.
Oh, thank you. First of all, there's a lot of information with the current technology, but our generation is not seeking to get this information. And most of the people that are driving narratives to reject the finance bill are actually doing so that it can be rejected in totality. Yet there are some aspects which the generation itself don't even know exist there. People have isolated a part of a small fraction of it and used it as a representation of the entire thing. So those who are also seeking it to be rejected are not giving alternatives on what should be done. As much as we have got so many obligations as a country, nobody is sitting down to give an alternative on how these issues should be addressed. We need to raise money for various government projects, to run government, the debt obligations. Nobody's actually having a conversation on how we are going to arrive at that. That is the conversation that we should be having. If you don't want maybe a tax to be introduced, or if you don't want a government to regulate a given sector, what then do you think should be done to handle these emerging issues that we're facing as a country? So we are reasoning with emotions, and those who are reading the finance bill are actually reading it with predetermined decisions. Let me read it so that I can identify something good to sell it, or let me read it to identify something negative to oppose it. Yeah, that is the problem with our generation. We look at the source of a document and not the contents of the document. If it's coming from someone you disagree with, then you are going to oppose it. So you're just looking for a reason to oppose it. So you'll start even opposing it before it comes out. Yeah.
Asante. Chairman, you are wiser than you were 2 seconds ago as you put it. And I just want to ask as a question, and I know, Mheshimiwa, you alluded to it. How many of us have genuinely had conversations with our parents? Ile yenye umekaa tu na mzazi hivi and you are talking about life skills, anakupea advice. Like if it's your dad, Lennox, anakuambia How many of us mmekaa na hizo discussion hata kama ni once to with your parents? Ninyi wote?
I've never had a life skill discussion with my dad.
How frequent do you have those conversations? Maybe Ombuki?
Thank you. For me, I do have the conversation once every year. That's December. Why are you laughing?
How frequent were you?
Maybe you should ask him.
Yeah, you should.
Whether they have the conversation as a matter of plan, or is it circumstantial? Where because you are at home, now parents want to bully you into having a meeting that makes them look supreme.
No, now it's the way I've been brought up. There is a serious conversation and there is a regular conversation. A serious conversation, we always come together and have one conversation. The regular ones we can
like
it's a planned
it's a regular
conversation.
meeting.
It's always done once a year.
Once a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
On whose terms?
So it is you who plans, or the dad, man.
Now it's either way.
You can plan.
I can do it because maybe nimepata some 2-3 things heartbreaks up nje, maybe I can talk to that. Yeah, that and I can plan it, he can plan it.
What do you people normally discuss, like patana na sana the parents hapo? Do you talk about real conversations ama ni zile tu na updates za venye kijiji inaendelea?
Now let me tell you, it's advancing as I grow up. When I was in high school, it was different. When I was in the university, it was different. Right now, it's different. Because right now we can talk on politics, we can talk on the village, we can talk on family. The other time, it was, you need to be this. Mambo unafanya ni mbaya, iko hivi, you see.
Yeah, and I'm asking you people this question because I think it is very, very vital. The role of parenting and mentorship, as Joanne had alluded to it, and so many of us are not having these conversations. And I also want to hear from Hina. Perhaps you could also tell us whether you people normally have these discussions. Now, it even said they discuss politics with the parents. So I would also want to know whether we unaongea politics now.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Yeah, we have different conversations with my parents. And yeah, sometimes we talk about politics. Though mostly, okay. A while back, I used to believe in social media, whatever I see without fact checking. So I used to find myself opposing my dad more. Yeah, because I'm just believing on rumors. And then we also talk about the education, what I want in the future, such things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ina. And then how frequent do you do these meetings? Ama ni tu zile coincidental?
There's no planning. Yeah, we can just be sitting, then he decides that we talk.
Thank you so much, Derek, and then eventually, before I come back to my panelists. Yes, Derek, can education really replace good upbringing ile yenye tulikuwa tunakuwa raised na family?
Okay, I can say no. Education, we are being taught on a specific thing. Let me say, I'm taking Bachelor of Science in Agriculture.
Yeah.
I've been taught about that. That will not bring that good upcoming. You are not being taught the morals. You're not being taught the discipline you should be having as a child as you grow up. You are being taught on a specific, like, we need to do this, to farm, to do what and what, but not that good moral as you should be growing as a person.
Okay.
Yeah, and lastly, I have a question to Lennox.
To Lennox?
Yeah, sure. Lennox, I just talked about, you just brought something about China. Do you think this profession, there's a high, hypocrisy, do you think the profession will be more better, as you said it before, that if you're not an engineer, you can't talk something that relates to that profession? Do you think these engineers themselves, they will not even bring the conversation?
Yeah, I think, and Lennox, I want you to be very precise and brief, but it's a question I would also want the panelists to delve into. The fact that that law that seeks to allow only professionals to comment on the line. For example, if you're not a lawyer, you're not supposed to comment on anything related to law, vitu kama hizo. If you're not an engineer, and it's an engineering topic. So unless you are an expert in that field, for example, if the finance bill right now, we allow the experts to then comment about. So it's something maybe you could also respond to. I'll give you time to respond.
Thank you so much, Tony, and thank you, Derek, for that. Yeah. Okay. So very quickly, the question is, do I think whether when professionals only talk about something, it will come out clearly? The thing is, professionals argue. As for you, if you're not a professional in that dogma or discipline, you are all will just be to follow. You're wondering, hey, what are these people talking about? That's what we'll be doing. So it's like it's just regulation. It's not totality. Yeah, it's just regulation. Like the algorithm. Yeah, your post will not be seen. You can have 100 million followers, but only 2 people seeing your post because you're not a professional, but you're commenting on that field. But if me with 2 followers as an engineer, if I comment on engineering, I get 2 million views. That's how the algorithm is managed. You see, we're living in a society that the intelligent must keep quiet to avoid offending the fools. You get it? Yeah, it's a very bad one. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I think I have only Cecil on this other end together with Danu before I come to my panelists. And Danu, what is this one skill, this one moral skill that the Gen Zs of today actually really need? The most important one, moral skill.
A moral skill. I wouldn't say it's a moral skill, actually.
Okay.
I think what they lack is wisdom.
Wisdom?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I have to say. They lack wisdom.
That's a moral skill.
Is it? Yeah. We as Gen Zs lack wisdom, honestly.
Okay.
Yes.
Chairman of wisdom, vice man.
Yeah, we do lack wisdom. You know, okay.
Maybe you can elaborate a bit. What is wisdom?
This chairman seems to be letting us down.
Today, let me be spiritual.
Okay.
Please. Okay, the Bible says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. But we as a nation, we as Gen Zs, do we really fear the Lord? Because it has come to a point where we're just killing each other. There's bloodshed. These things for homosexuality, lesbianism, gayism, we have normalized it. To the point that God has even decided, let me just release these people. We are lacking that wisdom, the wisdom that comes from God. Because the Bible is also saying that the wisdom of this world is foolishness. Yes.
Because we are the same generation that normally says, I will not go to church, but I will.
Yeah.
Stick to the left church, but never left.
So I think that, honestly, we are just lacking wisdom, and what we ought to do as a nation, as Gen Zs, is to just go back to God, because He's the giver of wisdom, and stop relying on the so-called wisdom that we think that we have.
Chairman, I'll come to you later on. For now, we only need this wisdom.
Yeah, because I mean, as a nation, we are really failing. Because recently, the first lady was praying, and then someone has the guts to go and criticize prayer. Like, how do you criticize prayer? Honestly,
I get the point.
like, that person was saying the only work that the first lady has is just pray. Well, the former first ladies had this and this. I mean, that's just stupidity at its highest. Like, how can you criticize prayer? That just goes to show how you lack wisdom. You're just talking for the sake. You don't know what you're saying. To the point that God is even angry. He has decided, let these people be.
Wow, that's very deep. That's very deep, because I know I've seen a lot of memes, especially around that. Recently, I also saw another meme, Juzi, people dancing for Ebola patients at the airport, but that is absolutely... So Cecil, maybe your comments before nikuje huku kwa nini, alafu...
What I can say, I feel like we Gen Zs, we lack the skills that we lack at the let me say face-to-face communication skills. Because you find out that we Gen Zs tuko na sauti sana online. We will reject the finance bill online, but when you meet me in person and ask me, why are you rejecting, or why am I rejecting the finance bill, I won't have those points. Yeah.
Thank you for... Oh, you have something before we...
Yes, just on her point. You can say we follow the wind. Right now, I'll say I'm rejecting finance bill on funds, on what she talked about, on that tax on funds. And then I will post it on my WhatsApp status. And then Cecil will see that. She will also be like, oh, we are rejecting this. Let us also reject. But you are not well informed. Why? What are you rejecting? How is this affecting you? So what I was to her there is that let's get informed. Let's have that knowledge about whatever you want to oppose or whatever you want to accept before you accept that or oppose it.
Asante. Yeah. Thank you so much. Maybe we can clap for ourselves because we have been very active. Asanteni sana. I want to start with you, Joan, because one thing is coming out very clearly is like we are losing that ability to disagree respectfully. Such that if I disagree with Ombukui, then I have to hurl insults at him. Lazima ni cause some physical harm to him. What is the point of all this? And what is this that maybe the young people can learn? Because I know you people are the next leaders, India. Wanasema the leaders of today, not tomorrow. Some of you are already leaders.
Yes.
India. Yes. How many of us are leaders? In any capacity? No, you are not a leader.
Yeah, thank you very much. Growing up, there's something that was drummed in us consistently. My late dad would always tell me that, listen, heshima si utumwa. Do you people understand what that is?
Yeah.
Heshima si utumwa. Another thing that my late dad inculcated in me is like, mtu akikutukana mwambie asante. You know, it's not that you're weak, but you know, when you say thank you, it gives you time to sit back and try to understand or try to reflect. Huyu mtu amenitukana kwa nini? You know, young people are very reactive nowadays. It's not like we were not your age. We were your age. And at some point also we argued with our parents. Like I argued with my parents quite a bit. But I listened to what my parents told me. I never went against what they told me. I had very present parents. My dad was very present in my life. And you people asked about having family meetings. Yes, I went to boarding school from the time I was in Form 1. And what happened is whenever I came back home during holiday, my dad would give me two or 3 days and we'll sit down. One, just have a discussion about how was school, you know, during the term. How was school? Then we go through my grades. Why have you dropped in this? Or if I did well, he'd congratulate me. And then again, a few days before I go back to school, we'd have another discussion again. We'd sit down. Of course, we always quarreled about not getting everything that I wanted, shopping. If any of you went to boarding school, you know that parents would buy you stuff to go. And that was a point of, you know, conflict. Tunaenda supermarket. I was born and bred in Nairobi. Tunaenda supermarket, nataka hii, anasema hapana, you can't have this, I can't afford it now. That aside. But he gave me what he could. Then we'd go back home, we'd sit down, have discussions about the term. He would give me direction, you know, on how school needs to be. So I think I had very present parents, and I think I'm present in my children's life. That's very, very critical. But I have a problem with men nowadays, and maybe Mwalimu and Honorable Ogindo will tell us about the fathers. I think fathers are too busy. I think fathers are too busy at looking for money and are not guiding boys properly. And also, one thing that I've studied in the process of being a parent is it's the father who develops character in a child. It doesn't matter that it's a boy or a girl. I've also experienced it with my boys. You people know Candy is my daughter. And whenever I talk to my boys, they will not take me seriously, but the moment I invoke their father, unaona mtu anakaa chonjo. You know, kuna vile anaogopa. So I think men should step up, you know. They have the authority to direct children. And it's evident I'm speaking from experience. So fathers should just pick up and wachaneni mnai maneno ya kutafuta pesa to the expense of wanting your kids to go to Brook House, sijui kwenda wapi for your own benefit. Unataka uonekane ati umepeleka mtoto wako Brook House, and yet you're not there for that child. So that aside, children also need to get out of social media a bit. I'm always quarreling with mine about being on social media. And just like you said, there's some validation that young people seek from this social media. Apart from also wanting to make money very quickly. You're in school, and for those whose parents are paying fees, why don't you focus on your education and the direction you're getting from your parents as you delay that gratification ya kutengeneza pesa? Because siku hizi inakaa hiyo like na kufuatwa na watu wengi because of your inflammatory statements is going to give you some mula at the end of it. That's misleading, because that inflammatory statement is going to give you 2 shillings, but the damage you'll have caused to a whole country
but you know, Joanne,
is large. Yeah.
You know, Joanne, the main reason you're looking for that money also is because if you don't have that money, they'll call you brokey.
Who will call you brokey?
Say brokey. You brokeys. So, how many?
So there's also influence, and that's why I'm talking about delayed gratification. Young people need to learn to have that delayed gratification. Your relationships are too transactional. It's about money. And I will tell you people, money is not everything. Nasikia mnasemaga afadhali kulia kwa nini?
I think I need to ask you people.
Afadhali kulia kwa Range Rover. Yeah, so it's just a whole ecosystem. My sons went to Strathmore School. And no, it's not for anything, but I like the model. I like the model that Strathmore School has in making sure that parents are involved in the lives of the children. That's what I'm trying to bring out. In Strathmore School, as a parent, you're involved very directly. You must go for, meetings with parents. You have meetings between parents and the students. And if you're in Strathmore School, there are no prefects. the boys regulate themselves. And also in Strathmore School, you're taken through a parental course by the school, so that you're able to guide your child very well. The relationship is tripartite: the school, the child, and the parent. And I think maybe because of the numbers in public schools, that is something that may not be possible, but I think it's possible. We need to see how we can involve parents very directly in how schools are running, in how their children are behaving in school, because at the end of the day, these kids come from a home that needs to direct them. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I could see the two guys laughing because I know for them, once you join campus, the next time you see your parents is graduation, yeah, but hopefully you shall join. And I know the gentlemen have been accused of being absent, so I'll allow them also to respond. We'll start with Mheshimiwa hapa, alafu we'll come to Mundalo, alafu tumalize na Chama.
And Mundalo is the latest parent in the block. Thank you, Tony. And please allow me to say some things in very elementary ways. Number one, Mundalo challenged us on this validation thing. And I think it is a structural thing. It's not just a small thing that parents are negligent. The younger generation would seek validation because they are abandoned by parents. There's no appreciation that comes their way. Unlike us, who would be appreciated by our parents, you'd get your father calling you, okay, Kawachuwon, do this and that. You know, that's an accolade, an appreciation. The way the younger generation get appreciation today is through validation, getting likes, because the parents are too far from them. And their nearest companion, instead of their parents, are the gadgets, the phones in their hands. So that's where they get validation. The second thing is what Joanne read, that, and I tie it with my earlier point, which is the system of education is the big problem why we are having these fires and this lesbianism and gayism. How do you lock boys alone in a room for 3 months? How do you lock girls alone in a room for 3 months? And it's not by accident that these things are happening. There are people who have designed them to be like that. And the end game is to destroy the family system. And that is why, even if you lock bulls only in a staple, they will start climbing each other. So that's how lesbianism and gayism is born. And some people designed it that way. And that is why I'm calling for the disbandment of boarding schools, so that people can interact outside and be appreciated more by their parents. The third thing is about accountability. I think today there's very little accountability in our country, Kenya. Everything has been passed to the president. I know the ultimate buck stops with the president. But there are people who are in positions of responsibilities, and they're earning salaries, and they are expected to do their jobs. And they are not doing their jobs only for everybody to come and heap blames on the president. I think it is important that everybody be held accountable. Where is the head teacher or the principal of the school? Where is the dean of students? Where is the class teacher? Those people must be held accountable before we can heap blames on the president, because it is fashionable to blame the president so that you look like you are the fiercest critic of the president, and you think that gives you likes. I think let's apportion blame where they rightfully belong on account of responsibility. Last but not least, there is this finance bill, and I know there's a big chorus to reject the finance bill. I have said in some other fora that finance bill is a consequential bill. It is a derivative. Finance bill is a derivative of the expenditure bill. If you want to reduce the taxation, then reduce the expenditure. So the best place to focus our reduction of the taxation is on the expenditure. Let us eliminate expenditure, certain expenditures that we don't agree with from the expenditure bill. That way, the finance bill will fall naturally. I thank you.
Wow, wonderful. And I think you've captured everything in your presentation. So I want to come to Mundalo, and then we'll go to Mwalimu.
What about me?
First, there's an allegation that you parents, the fathers are absent, so you have to respond to that. And then overall, your reaction to the questions that have been raised by the GENZs.
And to tell us his experience with this child.
Even if I don't mention it, someone else has to do it.
Ignore. I think on this panel, I think myself and the rest of the panels exist in two different generations. And that is why there is a mentality that when the parents are involved in the lives of children, then children become better. And that most of the tribulations we have today are because of lack of parental involvement in the lives of the children. Now, this line of argument always excuses the parent. And I do not entirely agree with it. Why? Because I think that some of the children are spoiled today because their parents are involved in their lives. Mm-hmm. Some of these children would even be doing much better if their parents were not involved in their lives. Because just because you are a parent, it does not mean you come with a manual of wisdom. Because you can still be a stupid person who becomes a parent.
Mundalo.
So it does not necessarily mean, it does not necessarily mean that parenthood comes with a certain manual of wisdom. Most of the reality is that today, the reason and the validation that we're talking about, it's very different in the context that Mheshimiwa speaks of and in the context that it is today. Before, the validation was meant to be able to push you to the next foot forward. Today's validation is not necessarily because you are even justified to have it. In the previous generation, you did something that was good, and then you are told you have done the right thing. Today, you do something that is pathetic, but still we are fearful as parents to tell you that it's wrong, so we try and cover it and then look for something that can validate the wrong. And that starts becoming part of the problem. And that's why I challenged and said that even when the children banned schools, the parents feared to go and say, you kids are wrong. They started looking for someone else to blame, and we shifted the blame. So today's child, someone is always taking the burden of responsibility away from them. And that's why the child today grows up knowing that they are absolutely right because they are children. So when they get to a certain level and then somebody shares a different opinion from theirs, they have not been wired to understand that someone can have a different opinion. We are therefore a generation whereby idealism, politics, and personality have been lumped together. And that's why I want you to look at yourself, and supposing you are a person who supports the government, I want you to ask yourself, how do you always feel when the other person tells you they don't? If your first response is hate, then you are part of the problem. If you are on the other side, and when we meet and I tell you I support President Ruto because I'm thinking he's doing a very good thing, your first response is that you start hating me, then you are part and parcel of the problem because you are lumping the idea, the person, and the politics together. Because we have not been taught tolerance, that we can be able to understand that this one can have a different idea, I can be able to have a different idea, and we can actually coexist. And that's why when you go to the campuses today, unfortunately, there is even response of suicide to relationship challenges. Why? Because we are also a generation that is just not used to disagreement. So because she has rejected you, the next thing is you feel that the right thing for you to be is dead.
Aye.
And sometimes we even think that when we die, we punish the ones alive. We are so vengeful that that becomes our line of thought. And this idea of mixing, putting the idea, the politics, and the person together is part and parcel of the problem. And that's why today I'll challenge you that some of you are seated, but you are only waiting for something bad to be said about the finance bill. Your wiring and your brain is not willing to listen to something positive. Why? Because to you, you have already decided your agenda first before the objective. So to you, you are seated and you're waiting. In fact, every day you hear something positive, you feel like you are losing. You are that kind of person. We are so malicious today that sometimes you sit with people and when they hear someone saying Shah has worked for them in a hospital, they get annoyed. Like you're getting annoyed because someone was able to be treated and government paid for it, and that has annoyed you. We are seated today as a society whereby you look at it and people are able to say, when someone talks about things like fertilizer subsidy, and fertilizer is 2,500, when you sit with some farmer and he tells you that, you know, I used to buy this thing at almost 8,000, and today, just last week when I was planting, I bought it at 2,500. Your first instinct is to get annoyed. That we kwenda we umelipwa. Because you first of all have decided, someone has ensured that there is agenda setting in your head. So to you, everything must then align with an agenda that is already predetermined. You are not willing to listen to anything or hear anything objectively. And that becomes part and parcel of the problem. If I can just respond quickly to something that someone asked about how do you know whether someone is telling you the right thing or the wrong thing. And I've always argued that always ask yourself why. When someone tells you that, for instance, the finance bill is bad, ask yourself, why is the person telling me that the finance bill is bad? Is it because they are interested in the well-being of my life, or they are interested in their own agenda that they are working on? The moment you get that answer, you'll be able to align things differently. Because most of the time, people are aligning you to their agenda, not to your agenda. And that's why they'll only feed you what serves them, not what serves you. Then there was a very good question about only professionals are supposed to comment. And I'll respond to it the same way I respond to the issue of parents. Being a professional in anything does not mean you have intelligence. If anything, all the people outside there who are talking all the nonsense that we are hearing are all professionals in something. I know of a girl who is on TikTok who I hear talking a lot of gibberish, but I hear she's a teacher. Qualified teacher, she went to school and all that. So just because you went to school and achieved some certification, it does not emancipate you from being sometimes an intellectual dwarf. So sometimes you are just an intellectual dwarf who has some papers from a university or from some college.
Certified intellectual dwarf.
Exactly. So the truth is that there are things that we cannot legislate, and we must not run away from the issue. If we are just having bad manners, let us confront and say, honestly, guys, we're having bad manners. We are advancing wrongly in our morals. Let us face that. Because tell me how we are going to legislate someone going on social media and just talking nonsense, insulting people and all that. You'll be shocked, my brother, that even the person who burnt the girl who had a tattoo of President Ruto was a professional in something. Maybe even in disaster management. So professionalism in itself is not a solution. We must just confront the reality and say, we as a generation, especially, and I've always confronted we, the younger generation, we must confront each other and tell ourselves the truth. That sometimes we are just being unfair. Sometimes it is us who are just being undemocratic. And sometimes it's just us who are consuming half-baked realities. And one of the biggest problems is that we think we know. The most dangerous place to be in life is a place where you know almost nothing, but you think you know. And you think you're the one who should be telling people. And unfortunately, most of us in the younger generation, especially the Gen Z generation, is that we think we know and everyone else is supposed to be listening to us. So sometimes everything that is getting out of our mouths is safer inside than outside, but we are busy putting it out.
Thank you, Mundalo, for that. I think you.
Yeah, I think what you meant, engineer, is the system, the algorithm system, is regulated in a way that when you're issuing inflammatory statements, then it's censured, right?
Yeah,
So
actually,
it's not a legal.
it's not something so legal. It's something tech related, and that's why China has really banned a lot of social media platforms. Yeah, or you regulate them. You do premium, so you cannot do premium and do nonsense.
But there are things. I agree with him. There are things like in China, there's certain type of content that cannot get out. You cannot be able to put it outside there. They have ensured that the algorithm supports things that are pro-development more. For instance, a child is trying to develop some bike and all that. That is what the content that thrives. But for us, the content that thrives is insults. But away from government, it's also people's orientation. What is your people orientation? What are we sharing the most? Because trust me, if as a society, we start sharing a lot of, like what my brother there is saying, if we start sharing a lot of intellectual stuff in Kenya, our algorithm in Kenya will shift to that.
That's true.
And that's what I'm saying, we can't legislate everything. Sometimes we have to face ourselves in the eye and just tell ourselves that we are being stupid and we must do better.
But can you people kindly work on our algorithms so that they can eliminate the insults and leave us with more constructive engagement?
It is in Swahili, most of it. That's why when you go to TikTok, there are things that when you say in TikTok in English, they are brought down, right? Even accounts are brought down. So these guys will insult you in Luo. The algorithm will not understand.
But I'm also, and I think that's a good thing to do. Maybe it's something that we need to consider in Kenya, especially during this electioneering campaign period, you know, so that you bring the heat down. The heat on social media is too toxic, and that is something that can help. And this is what actually gave birth to the killings that we had in Rwanda.
Yeah.
Because of the intolerance, you know, that communities didn't have against one another. I mean, towards one another. So it's not a bad thing to regulate. I know in America, I'm told Americans bought TikTok or something. Yeah. So they censure some things that if you're saying things that are probably does not conform with what they believe in, your page will be brought
just
down.
a question, but wouldn't that be an infringement of
actually
people's digital
security? That thing you're talking about,
it's a fine line.
It's been proposed, I think twice now in Kenya, that we have a law on cybercrime. It started with President Kenyatta at the time. There was a lot of backlash until what he did instead of facing the law, he went out of social media account to Achia.
Yeah, alitoroka.
He said, okay, you guys do whatever you want to do there. There has been a repeat again, I think sometime 3-4 months ago. I don't remember what specific time. But again, you remember how it got a lot of backlash. Because the truth is, we are just a society that does not want to be governed.
Exactly.
And every time we want to be governed, we want to hide under something called freedom of speech.
Yeah.
So first of all, we need someone who must be able to have the guts to just say, this is wrong.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the rest of you will say, this is actually wrong. And most of the time, the people who incite us to refusing these things are the ones who benefit most from those loopholes. So sometimes we are busy supporting them, not knowing that that is the loophole that they are using to be able to derail the country. It's like the way I don't believe in something called public participation. Because I ask myself, why should I elect a leader, get them in office, then follow them again to participate in what they are doing? I should be busy doing my thing and they should be busy governing. But somebody has made us believe that we must be part and part, and then they give it very good names: public participation, the voice of the people,
citizen
engagement, and all these things. Most of the time, these things are just donor-funded projects. So we have civil society actors that get money in the name of doing these things, and they hoodwink us as the rest of society to think that we need them. So at the end of the day, we have it there, someone is making money out of it, but what is it doing? It's derailing our development. So someone is doing a very good thing, but like I always say, the president is outside there doing something extremely noble, but someone will sneak in court and say, that thing needs to be stopped because there was
Like
no
someone went to court to stop
public
the
participation.
the
Rironi
the
Mausani
national,
showed.
no, the national prayer meeting.
Exactly. Even that, someone will go and say,
Someone went to court. Yeah.
I think
Wow.
I want to come to you, Mwalimu, but of
Mm.
course I'll come back to you for your take-homes and then they give the parting shot. Sawa sawa. Kwa sawa hivyo. Yeah. So Mwalimu.
I think I have listened for the last item
Wonderful.
on Kenyatta quitting from social media. I think that was very defeatist for a president, because you are like a captain jumping out of a burning ship and leaving your passengers to die there. President Kenyatta, having experienced the social media bullying firsthand, should have come with a regulation on how to deal with it.
Mm.
So that was defeatist. That was lack of charisma as a leader. That was called failure. There's something I also want to talk about, which is what happened in Rwanda. The killings in Rwanda happened because those who were promoting the killings were louder, they were many, they had resources. And that is how their gospel overwhelmed the country, and what they preached was executed. Today, the anti-President William Ruto in the country is having a group that is large in number, well-resourced and supported by some of the richest persons in the country. And that is what we are fighting back against. We need to have a country that we share everything equally. And that is what you need to deal with. And you need to look ahead and know what would happen if they succeed.
Mm.
Because when somebody just tell you, this guy is bad and he needs to be replaced, but never wants to tell you the replacement. What if the replacement is worse? We cannot, politics is a competition. Two people must compete. But if there is no competitor, but you keep on saying, today they are saying, impeach, but they have no proper reason. There was a case where we were talking about the problem with our schools is the way the dormitories are set up, no escape route and things like that. Let me tell you, if somebody has chosen to harm you, there are 1,000 ways to die. You will secure the dormitories, they will go and poison the food. You will secure the dormitories, they will go and mess up the school bus. Somehow they will get away to commit their crimes. So our solution must begin from the personality themselves.
Mm.
That take me to support Mundalo somewhere. And Mundalo, I must support you about the parents. Some parents are the real problem. They are the ones providing a protection that is negative. I know my father is a CS, so I can ban my fellow children and he will smuggle me out to the United States and I'll be there safely. Or he will call the chief of police, or he will call the school principal. Some of the children who have messed up Kenya most were children with very high-flying parents. Personally, my father died when I was 7. And for that period when he died, I was not with my mother for about 9 years. But I don't think I turned out to be a school banner or a school principal beater. Some of the most successful people in this country did not have parental guidance. They did not. In fact, they claim that having no parents, they worked harder and became who they are. So as much as we also must blame the parents, it is also society in general and genetics. You can bring 2 children in the same house from the date of birth to adulthood and they behave completely different. Haven't you seen that? So sometimes it is also genetics, and genetics, we can also correct them by putting rules and regulations that are impenetrable. We can do that. So as we debate these issues, we need to look far and wide. Now, I want to come to the finance bill. My statement on the finance bill goes like this. Politicians have learned to use the unsuspecting masses, the hoi polloi in the streets, to do their bidding, to fight their wars, to put them in the places they want. For example, today in Kenya, they are telling the people, not the MPs, the people to reject the finance bill. Yet they know there is no day the finance bill will be brought before the people. It will not be brought before. It will not be brought before you to make a decision on it, to vote for it. It will go to Parliament, and they have chosen not to tell the MPs to reject it. They have chosen to tell you what they want from you is anger. What they want from you is mayhem. What they want for you is to go to the streets and get hurt, and then they now use that again on the government. Why would somebody educated, experienced, learned, exposed, ask the people to reject finance bill when he knows it will not go before them? And even himself, if you ask, tell us one provision in the bill that makes it rejectable. They will not tell you. They have not even read it. Today, we still find politicians in Kenya, when they talk about SHA, you hear them go she, sho, shu. It means they are not sure which is the correct word to use. Yet they want to manipulate you to achieve their personal agenda. So you must question politicians. If they come, even if it's your brother, even if you want to be an MP and it's the only avenue, ask him, why do you reject the finance bill? And when somebody tells you, SHA is not working, is SHA capable of working? Iko na mikono. We need to understand how it is built, how it is programmed, how it is supposed to work. Because you walk to hospital, you find there is no medicine, you walk back and say SHA is not working. SHA has nothing to do with medicine in a county hospital or in any hospital. It is only meant to pay your bills. But everything that fails in health system, you come and say SHA is not working. Because even those politicians don't understand, they just want to use it against you. And then, of course, they many times create propaganda against each other and want that person to apologize on the basis of that lie they have created, or explain on the basis of that lie they have created, or you to go to the streets on the basis of that lie you have created. For example, I listened to Hassan Omar's speech 4 times in one sitting. I wanted to hear the word Kikuyu in it. I wanted to hear the word Mount Kenya in it. I want to hear the word region in it. I want to hear the word community. Those ones were not there. But some people, because of their numbers like the ones we had with the Hutus in Rwanda, they are many, they have resources, they have better leadership that wants things to happen that way. So they were pushing that when Rigathi Gachagua said the people from Northeastern should build their schools, that was okay. But when Hassan Omar talked something relatively very smooth and safe, they can come out in their large numbers and make Kenyans believe that that was wrong. And something you probably may not have noticed, even when the media was talking about the bad things Hassan Omar said, they never replayed his voice. All, Nation, TV, Citizen, or KTN, because they are accomplishers. They have been paid to achieve a goal that somebody wants to achieve. Now, I had somebody saying that the president was being accused of hosting a prayer meeting while children were burning in Gilgil. I don't know if he knew in advance children would burn. But the people who were accusing him also called a press conference at a time they should have also gone to Gilgil to sympathize with the parents. Nyani haoni kundule. So be careful about politicians. And I am one of them, so don't also take my word for it. Evaluate it. Yeah. So, and about hurling insults. There was a post I made on my Facebook page that if you want to find out if you are an idiot, find out if any post you don't agree with, you feel like insulting, then you are an idiot. But if any post you don't agree with, you want to understand why this person is thinking this way, then you are a brilliant. And you are a genius if you think this one should be left to be trained later. But whenever you see somebody, everything he doesn't agree with, insult, abuses, then that person is simply an idiot. So you need to be very careful, because when children grow, because of their age, they are not very intelligent. So they use emotions rather. Akisikia anasikia njaa, analea, because there's no other way. As they grow up, they become rational. Then they become logical. Then they begin to think even in the abstract. Imaginations for even things they don't see. But there are some adults who are stuck in the emotional level. Others who are lucky are stuck in the rational level. But there are also some people who deliberately know that and misuses people who are stuck in the emotional and the rational level. So we have to be very careful how we deal with our society. Because many times when people talk like I am talking now, some of you here now torn between understanding me or agreeing with me. If you can't agree with me, just try to understand me. Then you can help me or help yourself. That is how things work. But if you can't reconcile those two, I am sure you are going to go to insults. Even if you don't do it here, you'll do it out on the corridor. But, my friend, make sure you understand the positions people are. That is when you can help them. That is when you can solve their problems or yours or of society. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much, Mwalimu, for that. I think a round of applause for our panelists too as we wind up. So briefly, just your take home, alafu closing remarks. India, we can finish in the next like 10 hivi. Because yeah, so maybe I can start with Nianze na nani? Yes, Candy.
So I have 3 points. The first one is on mental health. I think that's a conversation that needs to be had. But I'd also like to ask the generations that came before us, was mental health there? Because recently I was on TikTok and a fellow Gen Z alikuwa ameandika kwa TikTok yake that his girlfriend amemwambia that he's narcissistic, he's nonchalant, and on top of that, he has autism. So my question is, was mental health, the conversations around mental health with the previous generation there? And if it was there, how was it tackled? Because again, I'm noticing a trend where in our generation, mtu akikukosoa, you're hurting me, you're hurting my mental health. So there's a way that we're also manipulating that term. And then I want to also talk about education, in the sense that when we're going for formal education, there's a way in which our instructors or the institutions that we're in should be able to be not biased in terms of how they teach us. I don't know if this lecturer will see this, but I had a lecturer who took me through international humanitarian law. And he was very radical in the sense that he was completely against government. Anything that government does, whether good or bad, government is bad. But when it comes to civil society, 100% tick. So that also raises the question, are our teachers teaching us from an unbiased perspective, or they're also radicalizing us to think in a certain way? The third one, this one I picked from Mr. Advice on social media and validation. I was listening to a conversation about employment and the reasons as to why people, or rather the Gen Z, seek employment, and the argument was, are we seeking employment to better our lives, or is it because we want to achieve a short-term, what's the word? Gratification? Because the conversation, the person was saying that he's in HR, and he was saying that a Gen Z can be called for an interview and they're asked, well, why do you want this job? I just want a new phone.
An iPhone.
I want the latest tech, or I want, just something that would make me feel better. Exactly. Bundles. So, I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Candy. I think I also saw the thing yeah, HR. So maybe you could pick 2 more or 3 more, alafu we come back, they close it.
Okay. First, I would want to comment on the issue of accountability as raised by our panelists. I don't think you can solve the issue of incompetence or professional neglect of duty by transferring someone. Yeah. If someone is incompetent somewhere, even if you transfer him to Kisumu, he will do the same thing. Number 2, there is this history in our country that a given sect of politicians are untouchable. However much they incite the people, however much they involve themselves in illegal activities, they cannot be held to account, because maybe the people in government, I don't know, but maybe the people in government fear the political price they'll have to pay for holding such a person accountable. Another thing, our justice system is very slow. Like the suspects, I know there will be suspects of that purported arson at Utumishi Girls being released on bond, then the case would drag and maybe end nowhere if the parents, are well off.
Okay.
At least we need some people being used as an example in this country, so that we can set a good precedence. Thank you.
Asante sana. You can give big and then you can decide to malizie. So be brief, tafadhali.
Yeah, thank you. So Henry Barlow was a Ugandan poet. He wrote a poem entitled Building the Nation. So today I woke up, tried to dress well, engage myself in some research before I came to this show in the hopes of building the nation. I don't know what you did outside there as a Gen Z or as a millennial. Whether you sat down and scrolled through TikTok and Instagram and felt hate and bought into the propaganda that is being sold to us, or whether you tried to read through and do your due diligence in terms of study. Whatever you did, you must always ask yourself, am I building the nation or not? Because as Jesus once said, it's easier to spot a speck in someone's eye rather than see the log in your eyes. I rest my case.
Clock it. Easy clock, lakini you can do it in it.
Thank you so much, Bik. I didn't know that a karate person can be religious. Okay. So very quickly, I think the narrative of total transformation, it begins from us. But there was a time in this country that a woman was caught with heroin in Vietnam. And then the Vietnamese, according to their law, you should be hanged or given lethal injection. The end game is to kill you instantly. But Kenyans were asking the Foreign Affairs Ministry, "Bana, can you intervene?" Kenyans were united. President, kindly intervene. And yet, this person has been caught with heroin that was going to destroy the children of Vietnam people, that was going to render the society dysfunctional. That's how Kenyans behave. Another time, there's a lady known as, I think, Caroline Kangogo, somebody, the one who was a serial killer, serial trafficker, and then was caught up, and then some DCI people went and shot her. Kenyans were angry. Why did you take her to court? And this person has appeared to court more than 5 times, has been asked to transform, has been a jailbird. How do you call it? Jailbird is a man, a lady jail. Jailbird or something. Yeah. So that was the cascades of the scenario of Kenyan transformational. I think we must really speak to ourselves. And in conclusion, as Thomas Jefferson will say, that we must meet our duty and convince the world that we are just friends and sometimes brave enemies. Thank you.
Wow.
Noma sana.
Mama sana. Leo
That
mko
is the new
moto.
clapping method, eh?
Yes, so I think hakuna mtu yote tumeacha nje, si ndio? Thank you so. Oh.
Yes. I have a take home.
Okay.
My take home is in our country, Kenya, the problem is not politics. It's that empathy.
Empathy. The place of empathy. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I think imekuwa very open discussion. And the fact that hatujaweka more blame games, at least imekuwa open, and that's one thing I will take. Let's not blame a lot. Let's not direct a lot of blames. Let's start from us kwanza. Imechomeka mimi kama mzazi, mtoto wangu alifanya nini kwanza? Yeye ndiye alikuwa wa kwanza kuchoma ama alitafuta safety? I like the way Mundano alieka direct. Umeingia kwa nyumba umepata our 3 years old na watch cartoon and mimi ni wazee tunataka kuwatch mpira, lakini now we have to watch the cartoon. The kid is watching the cartoon, and now that's also something that inatuonyesha how we raise the next generation. It means in the next 10-20 years the people will be having niwele wenye akisema ni I expect wewe useme no. And that's how even this generation imekuwa brought up. Wengi wana believe if I lack this, if I lack the bread today, then my parent is responsible for me not getting that bread. They don't know ukiwa na mikono, ukiwa na hii, hata wewe unafaa uone ka utapata hiyo bread.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mbukana. I know you are an Arsenal fan, so leo mko na Champions League. I wish you the best of luck. And I think it is on that note that we want to finish with our panelists. Your final word. Tuanze na mheshimiwa. Tuende na mheshimiwa Martin Ogindo, your final word, alafu tuende kwa Mundalo, si ndio?
Sawa.
Thank you. I mean, very few final words, but just need to brush on a few things that have been raised. I wish Candy could have explained to us, especially the elderly, what mental health is today by definition and how it manifests, because I might be misconstruing mental health to mean frustration. So probably one of us will be able to deal with that in a better way. The second one is what Pico said. We need to confront ourselves at personal levels. What are you doing in your country? Are you building it, or are you destroying or reconstructing it? I think that's a fundamental question that we need to ask ourselves daily.
Great.
And we used to say when we were young that you don't need a fundi to break, you only need a fundi to build. Destroying is very easy. Reconstructing is very hard. The other one is about the lecturer or the teacher of Candy. And I think that dovetails into what I was saying earlier about our system of education. I think we have conditioned ourselves as a community that our education does not serve a specific purpose. When you go and start teaching people with your notes of 10 years ago, 20 years ago, then you are stagnant in your position. You're not responding to the modern times. And I think that's a failure in us as a country. We really need to tackle that. Last but not least is this thing of society. The way society has been structured today, we will blame each other left, right, center. But there is a systemic and systematic design that is meant to destroy society as we know it today. And it is easily and systematically disintegrating. That is why today there is very little conversation that can take place in the house everybody is independent, including the 3-year-old son who clings onto the
Children, right?
yes, onto the remote, and you can't touch him because in US I'm told there is a law that if a child is found crying in your house, you will be arrested. I mean, how do you make your child be a good person when somebody unknown to your child and unknown to you is deterring you from parenting? I thank you.
Thank you. I think this was a very in-depth conversation, and I like the conversation, especially around that matter of even the double standards. You know, you have to understand that we live in a country whereby Rigathi Gachagua wants the president and the entire country against the mountain. But that is not supposed to be a threat. That is not considered tribal victory. But a gentleman who is in defense of the land injustices that have been happening in the coast since independence is now the object of all accusation. And all of us do not want to look at what was he saying. We want to look at, no, it's community attack. These are our realities. We live in a country where Rigathi Gachagua will spend about 7 million in flight tickets to go to the UK and pretend to be fundraising 1.5 million for a young man who is campaigning in Olkalau. That is the reality that we face. But in finishing, I want to address you to the subject of bitterness that is very heavy on our social media. And bitterness is always a byproduct of a failed explanation or insufficiency of reason. When the explanation is not there, or when the reason is not there, the resultant effect is bitterness. And that's why, and I'm sure ladies will understand me much better in this, that's why a gentleman who has some money and the one who doesn't have respond differently to the same thing. When you pass by Kempinski and you tell him, let's have lunch, the one who has money sees communication of hunger. But the one who doesn't thinks you're looking down on him. Thinks you're attacking them.
Justice for no
That is why. And that is why the same happens in our election. And as we move towards the election, there is always some type of people that will always be bitter. Historically, the bitter people have always been government people. Why? Because it is always government that has insufficiency of reason and failed explanation to the simple question, what have you done for us to trust you for another term? But something very weird is happening in the election today, that the bitter people are the ones who are against government. Why? Because government today can answer that question sufficiently. And it's outside there answering that question and saying, we have done this, we have done this, we have done this. But now, on the other side, the same question is attracting bitterness. I argue that this is actually the first government to go to the election without bitterness, but with answers and facts to the simple question, what have you done for us to trust you for the another term, and what do you intend to do? And that's why the bitter people are the ones in the opposition, because they don't want those questions. The moment you ask them that, they get very bitter. This is the first one. President Kibaki and President Moi always went to the election with a strategy, with a political strategy. Divide the numbers of the opposition and get a simple majority. And that's how he always came back. Nothing about the question why. President Kibaki went to his re-election armed with only two things: the ECK chair and the police. Went fast forward, and President Uhuru Kenyatta went to his re-election armed with only one thing: blackmail of the people to be able to reward him for his birthday. If you remember very well, we went to the election saying, it's the president's birthday. Let's give him. So we rendered our hopes and aspirations as a country and all our dreams on the basis of a birthday. This is the first time that a government is going to the people armed with the answers to the question, why? The very questions that the citizens have always needed. And this is also the first time that the opposition is the one that is bitter and not the government. And that's why you are seeing attacks happening more on people who want the government to come back more than the latter. Most of the time previously, it's always been governments that are bitter because they can't explain why they will attack those ones who are asking the questions. Today, it is those ones without the answers attacking those ones with the answers. So we as the people must then ask ourselves the fundamental question, who will actually take our country to the next level? Thank you.
Clock it. Yes.
You know, speaking after people have oozed wisdom becomes very difficult. I will begin by answering Candy on the issue of mental health. Yes, there was mental health, but a lot of times I think it was viewed as witchcraft, you know, not necessarily mental health. And nowadays, nowadays with information galore, we have social media where you can actually go and get these things. Young people are actually using that to manipulate others. Oh, you're not good for my mental health. Oh, my mental health can't take it. So information galore also has its downside, but then I think it's a good thing that with social media we are able to understand some of these things better. Just to close up my closing remarks, and I just want to echo what everyone is saying about looking internally. I will speak by someone who uses the roads a lot. The driving that you have on Kenyan roads clearly shows us what kind of people we are in this country. We are intolerant, we are bullies, you know, you'll be bullied on the road like a joke. And before we start pointing fingers, we need to look at internally, how would I like to be treated? Before you start attacking the other person. We need to treat each other the way we'd like to be treated. And just to pick up from where advisors has talked about bitterness, we are so bitter, and remember what you focus on is what you fortify. You know, you're so bitter and you're focusing on that bitterness, that is what you'll continue having, and it will consume you. It will make you sick because you're bitter. So learn to have the opposite of bitterness, show love. And I also like the fact that this bitterness is making government communicate even clearer. You know, the person who will take over after Ruto will have a very difficult time because we have an informed young people, and we have a government that's actually responding with facts. I'm seeing on social media, there's an agreement that has emerged in relation to this Ebola thing. Mutahi Kagwe is the one who actually signed that Ebola agreement with the government of the USA. And here we are killing this current administration about an agreement that was signed by the government of Kenya, not today, but before this administration came in. That's a bilateral agreement. And remember, governments are perpetual. You're not going to tell America that, no, it's that other administration that signed this agreement. No, they know it's the government of Kenya. What does this tell us? Do your homework before you start shouting, before you go onto the keyboard and become a keyboard warrior. And just to close up, charity begins at home. I still believe charity begins at home. And home is not necessarily where your biological mom and dad are. A father is not necessarily the person who gave birth to you, because I believe that we need to mentor children. There's no way as a woman I'll mentor a boy because I do not know how emotionally and physiologically, and I'm talking from experience, a woman should mentor a boy. So when I talk about fathers, I don't mean about babako la mekuza. I'm talking about a man. And our traditional African societies understood this very well. So you found that growing us up, we'd always go to shags every year. And me and my girl cousins would sleep in my grandmother's house. And there we'd be told stories. There's a way we were mentored. Squeezy Missy G, I'm waiting for Candy to give me a grandchild. I see how I'll be able to mentor that child. But I think it's a good thing. We need to stay in touch and keep family cohesive. And I still insist, men, step up.
Okay.
Santi.
Clock it. Yes, sir. And then finally, tuko na mwalimu. Can close it all for us.
Thank you very much. I think it was a beautiful session, quiet, calm, and productive. But I must also make a few observations I have noticed after you people spoke. The biggest problem today in Kenya taking on the government is double standards. Double standards only occur when somebody deliberately wants to be biased against another person. So when you want to know there is bias, look out for double standards and vice versa. Why do I say double standards? Recently, when the president went to Europe, something emerged that he's using a jet that is costing 5 million an hour, isn't it? That very person who was saying that was also using a helicopter here, costing 1.2 million an hour in the country, and it carries 4 people. The presidential jet carried 36 people. Which one was cheaper? And that one went round and brought back nothing. The president brought back deals. So sometimes there is what is called evaluation of a situation. You need to evaluate. But for you to be able to evaluate, you must first find out, why is this guy talking like this? They even told us, why are they not using the presidential jet that Moi left? Because it was only bought 35 years ago and here Trump's is 40. That presidential jet of Moi was even bought second hand. Neither Kibaki nor Uhuru used it externally, they only used it within the country. But they would rather Ruto uses it across the oceans. Because of bias, because of double standards. Then there is the case of Ebola in Kenya, which Wakili ameongea. Incidentally, I am not against it, even though it was signed by the previous regime. When Kenyans were found with COVID in China, they were quarantined in China. Those who were in Europe were quarantined in Europe. Reason being, confining people who are infected in a jet to go back to their home country is even spreading that thing throughout the world. If an American is found here in East Africa and you want to send him back to the United States for quarantine, is he going to be in the jet alone? But if you use a vehicle where he sits alone in an ambulance and brought in a quarantine means he has no access to other people and other people have no access to him. So Kenyans crying that bringing Ebola here, I think it's a joke.
Why not quarantine in DRC?
It cannot be quarantined in DRC because you need infrastructure.
They can build that infrastructure.
You need that infrastructure. In Kenya, we have an agreement for that infrastructure. CDC was also housed in Kenya. And also, your question is also good. If it was dangerous, it is not dangerous. Put that patient in an ambulance. Drive him to an isolated place in Laikipia or wherever. How will Kenyans get infected? You know, sometimes we just need to weigh things. Even Uhuru, when he was signing that thing, he knew that was the scenario. But for political reasons, they want to bring it like it can happen here. It won't. In any case, even the Americans know Kenya does not only have only Kenyans, the Americans here. So if they bring that disease here, it will definitely go back to America. Let's just be honest, people. So then there was the case of somebody said that whoever will take after Ruto will have a hard time because people are now enlightened. Let me tell you something that is not about that one. The kind of activism you see against President William Ruto now is sponsored. Unless after him, the somebody also comes out to sponsor it. These people you see writing on social media and so on, they are people who need leadership. If there is no leadership in what they are doing, it will end. Today, after 3 days, you don't see any anti-government comments on on social media, you will also stop. Do you think a senator earning net 500,000 like Sifuna can have 6 rallies in 1 month of that magnitude? You think so?
Not 1 million.
1 million is the gross.
Yes, net is very well.
He can't, and he has never done it before. How come he wasn't doing it before? Do not be cheated. That CPS system in a political rally alone cost 5 million to have it there. The mobilization, do not think people just do. People are mobilized. So the truth of the matter, somebody is sponsoring all these things you are seeing. And if that sponsorship is withdrawn, you will not see it. In the Kenyan history, we had never seen a case where the State House budget is being scrutinized publicly. Never. We had never seen. But during Ruto, it is being done so. And people don't want to say the truth. They are doing what is called misinformation. And of course, so disinformation. Deliberately messing up the information to look like the way they want. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to be very careful, because if somebody is doing what is being done today and you let him succeed, no other president will succeed in this country, because they will come and tell you, you are not better than Ruto. Usipofanya hii na hii na hii, you will also be one term. Or we are going to impeach you. But you also want to be presidents in the future. You also want your clanmates to be. But I can tell you, this one, what we are going through, is a recipe for destruction of this country in the future. Watch this space. Thank you.
Wow.
And also, Eden Dwale is on Citizen today, discussing this whole issue around Ebola. Please watch so that you don't pick those snippets of information in a katwa to inflame you.
And by
Just
the way,
watch.
Joanne, how come today Makoure is never invited to TV stations?
Oh, really?
Why do you think so? Because he's on the side of government now. How come Morara Kebaso is no longer invited?
Yeah.
They used to fight for him. I'm telling you, watch Alionya. He will not be going to the mainstream media. And when I tell you the mainstream media is captured and paid, if they were not captured and paid, Standard would be dead long time ago. Thank you.
Language icho. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much, Advice Mundalo, Joan, and also Mheshimiwa Martin Ogino in absentia, and our convener, Mwalimu Doyo Widi, and also maybe a clap for ourselves juu tumefanya pia vizuri, si ndio? Hamdai kujiklabia.
Furahini.
Ama tuweke muziki to dance.
Tuweke muziki to dance. Yes, and also to appreciate the team that has been behind the production.
Finale.
Tumekuwa na Harold pale, na jezi yake Harold Brian. I can mention all of them, alafu tuwapige makofi, si ndio? Tuko na Harold Brian pale, tuko na Wycliffe Nyagol, we've got Jamal Odur na Faith Arina. Maybe tunaweza waklapia pia. Thank you so much, guys. That is all we had time for today here on Face to Face with the GENZs, courtesy of Redring TV. My name is Tony Blair and I've been your host. Till next time, this is normally what we do here every Saturday from 2:30 p.m. up to very late. Sindio. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki.
God bless you too.
Amen.
So, tutapiga mapicha.